Hello and welcome to Endless Legend, Tempest edition. So this game has been something that I've been eyeing for a very long time because it actually came out in 2004, and at the time it came out I was like, hey, I really should play this because I played a lot of Civ, but somehow never really got around to doing it until now. So pretty recently, a new expansion pack slash add-on slash DLC, whatever they call it these days, came out called Tempest, and it was on sale in Steam, so I figured, good time as any to pick it up, and so we'll play this together. So this, in case my Civ comparison hasn't sunk in yet, it's a 4X game. 4X being explore, expand, exploit, and explode. Yep, yes, that's right. So, you're gonna see some of the same elements. If you're not familiar with this kind of games, hope you enjoy the ride. So before I start, I want to point out in the contents, I have 3 of the 5 expansion packs installed here, including Shifters and Tempest. Frozen Things is basically like a real basic thing, it adds some dressing. But the real meat and vegetables are here. The Shifters basically changes the way the season in the winter works. You'll see that when we get into the game itself. And Tempest, which is a new thing, changes stuff on the wide seas, which is the pirate edition, if you will. I don't have these two because I don't want them. Actually, I want them, but not for this. And let's go ahead and start. So I did a couple of test runs. The first one was like a 50 or 60 turn thing with a faction called the Ardent Mages. They're very nice people. They like to hurt themselves. And that was on normal. Then I checked it out, this new faction called the Morgwarer, which came from Tempest. And I think we're gonna do a hard playthrough with them. I'm not exactly a great 4X player. I do okay in Civ, partly because I played so many of them. I don't know how well we're gonna do on hard here. So if we're gonna crash and burn, we'll both sink together to the bottom of the ocean. So one of the interesting things about Endless Legend is that it's actually quite similar in the way that the mechanics are constructed to a Civ game, but there's a pretty large difference in the way that factions are set up. Civ was a 1/4, and Endless Legends about 5/8. Okay. The difference is that in Civ, most of the factions or the leaders play relatively similarly. They have some minor differences which can actually be quite significant, but overall they all work the same way. But in this game, you have some very large distinctions between the different factions slash race slash empires, as they would like to refer to themselves as. So you got some pretty diverse choices. Windwalkers, Vultures, Mazzari, and Ardent Mages are pretty vanilla, meaning that they basically all revolve around the standard Civ type of gameplay with some minor distinctions. Some of them are good at certain things, some of them have some little bit of tricks tossed into it, but they're relatively approachable. The Broken Lords, for example, don't actually have any sort of natural citizen production. Instead, every single thing you get, you buy it with the gold, or which is called dust here. Necrophages are kind of like the Zergs of this game. They are not good at getting food, but they are very good at scavenging and killing things. Roving Clan focuses mostly on commerce. They can't actually declare war on anybody, but they're able to kind of hound the trade market and trade routes and stuff. So you get very strong economic development with them. Dragons are the stuck-up diplomats. They actually are able to force diplomatic actions on people. Cultists are basically a glorified one-city challenge. Alai are kind of like weird marshmallow people, who are apparently very, very slow, but they have some very interesting powers, especially with winter, which is actually the expansion pack they came in is the one that introduced new mechanics in the winter. And finally, you get to the nice looking folks that we're going to be playing with for the next forever. They're the Morgauer, and most of their strength are focused on the ocean and exploring the ocean and exploiting tiles with water on it. Instead of going through all of these things one by one now, because it's not going to make any real sense for anybody, except unless you played this game already, which then, welcome. We're actually just going to start the game and try to explain things later. The big thing about these guys is they're very strong on the water, but of course, as you would expect, very weak on the land in several different ways that we'll get into. So let's go ahead and begin. We're going to do a hard game, and we'll do it on a 2-continent setup with mostly normal settings. Have 8 people. Nice little party. 8 people walks into the bar, one of them comes out. Who would it be? Let's find out. I'm gonna skip this loading part here because with the recording on, it actually takes a long time. So we'll see you on the other side of this.
Luckily for Auriga, they sleep. We didn't understand them. Didn't even know where they came from. We couldn't control them. So in desperation, we contained them. What if they break free? With their power, hatred, and paranoia? Then Auriga will weep, as she has never wept before. Tears enough to fill the salt seas.
So apparently we are the eldritch abominations of this universe, and Auriga that they were mentioning is the name of the planet. So apparently we're also very good at making planets cry. Now, that's some hardcore sci-fi stuff. And of course we are visited at the very beginning by the stuck-up dragon people. They have ability which allows them to meet/see the starting location of every other faction. So they know we're here, but also that means we know they're here. Nothing to say for them for now. Okay, so welcome. In case you don't actually know how these games work, basically the way that games like this are running is essentially you are building cities and developing your culture. So you have resources which the city will allow you to utilize and exploit, and then from those resources, by changing technologies and building more units, you want to kind of expand your empire, make all the numbers go higher and higher and higher. Essentially, it's a clicker game. And in this game, there are 5 kind of primary resources, and these things are indicated by the icons here: food, production, science, and dust, which is essentially a different way of saying money. Food, of course, allows your cities to grow faster. You need food to sustain populations. And of course, if you have more people, then they can be more productive by generating other things. Production affects how fast and how well you can build things, including units and improvements and buildings inside of your city. Science, of course, allows you to do research. And then finally, dust, or gold, is used in many, many places. Actually, it's quite a nice game for utilizing that. So first thing we want to do is we want to make sure we settle on the first turn if possible. And there's this toggle down here which allows you to see all of the different resources each tile provides. And when you build a city, you get 7 tiles. You have the city tile itself and then the 6 tiles surrounding it. So you get basically all of the resources on those tiles. And eventually, later, you are able to expand the city even further by building something else, which increases the number of tiles and the resources you can exploit, but this is what you are starting with. So you want to find a good place where there are a lot of nice resources to start. And the second thing is that we are a sea-based people. So it's good for us if we can find a place where there's water. And you'll see that on the water tiles, we have 1 food, 2 production, 2 science, and 2 dust. That comes from one of the traits from this faction. If you don't have this faction, what you will see is 1 food and 2 dust. So we are adding the power of our people is adding 2 production and 2 science for every single water tile. So it's good for us to, if we're on the coast. Zoom in. Look at that nice looking person. We're not going to win any beauty contests anytime soon, but that's not the point here. We don't need to be beautiful. We just need to be effective, ruthless. Okay, let's try to find a place to pick our starting spot before we get too far into our little fantasy world. This looks like an okay area. Normally, you want to find multiple plots here that has additional resources. You know, if you look at normal places, you get 3 resources total, right? So all of these places are divided to 3 resources. These things called anomalies generate extra resources. Here you have 9 total. And of course for us, we have the coast, which is actually quite good. And I am debating what I want to do here. What I'm going to do here is actually send one of my units here out to sea and have them explore this side a little bit, just to make sure there are no even better places. Doesn't seem to be the case. So let's just pop down where we started. Okay, take the settler. You know, actually, you know what? Let's just we can have the whole entire group move. We don't need to just pick 1 unit. And we'll find our first city here. Should I do it here or let's see? There's nothing really on this side, so we can. This screen will tell you how many total resources you have: 12 food, 11 production, 5 science, 7 gold. 11 food, 12. So if I pick the spot, I get a little more extra production, but I think this should be okay. 12, 4, 8. All right, let's go for that. This also gives me potentially more sea tiles to access. Find our first city right here. And having a city brings up basically the entire city screen here. And down here, you can pick your buildings that you want to build. Here is kind of a chart of your population. So the one thing that works differently from some of the Civ games is that your population don't actually work the tiles themselves. The tiles are automatically worked and the resources automatically gathered by the city. When you have population, for example, right now we have 1, you put the people into any of these columns, which allows them to generate additional resources. So they're like workers or specialists, I think, that you did in the previous Civ games. But right now I have 1 guy put into food, so he is producing extra food. And he's producing, let's see here, he's producing 2 extra food from this person. No, 4 extra food from him being here. So that's nice. But we can switch him into production if we need to do that. So first thing we'll do is we'll pick this building, which is the Founders Memorial. Basically, it's the city center building. You build it in your first city, usually as soon as you can, because it provides a lot of extra resources in it. So it's always nice. We'll build that. It's going to take 6 turns for it to complete. And 3 turns for me to gain an extra population. And let's see, what else? So we need to do a little bit of exploring here. We have this temple ruin over here. And these are things you can explore, and sometimes you'll get either rewards or quests from them. So in this case, we searched that and we got 30 dust, which is nice. The second thing I want to do, which I picked up a little trick, is here is your hero unit. He has right now 1 other unit with him. The hero unit itself is able to fight as well. He is a combat unit. But this game goes into a lot more detail. So if you click on him, you can see he has actually equipment. He has a lot of traits here, right? So he's a range unit. He has this thing called Hecatu. It's a hecka tune. Yeah, it's a very good tune. Basically, it allows you to make a friendly unit into a time bomb or, you know, explosive thingy, which when they die, they damage everybody around it. He's also amphibious, which means that he is able to move more easily in, you know, around the rivers. Last stand, slow down, fortification boost, influence boost. Okay, so he has, these two are effects that would be beneficial if I install him as a governor of a city. So you can put heroes as leaders of an army, which then these combat stuff comes in, or you can put them in a city and govern. So then, you know, some of these things will come in. The first thing I want to do is I want to equip him with some accessories. He doesn't have any to start with. And what the accessories here, the ring and the talisman, will do is it actually increases the visibility range, which is the ring, and the movement, which is the talisman of the army that he's leading. So it's really good for scouting, and I like to expand very quickly in the beginning of these kind of games. So to be able to do that, you need to have good scouting. So I want to put this on him, and it costs me 46 dust to do this. But I'm going to bite the dust, if you will, and make that happen. Now the second thing I want to do is to start exploring. And since I'm basically on this very edge of this continent, what I like to do is expand or explore that way. Explore that away. Can I get these two to come together? I can move him here, and then move him back into the army. Merging the army, if you have multiple armies, it costs you more to maintain. So right now I'm gaining 7 gold per turn. But if you have 2 armies, I'm only getting like 3. So if you don't need to, merge your armies together. Sometimes you may have to separate them to explore both sides, but right now I think one of them is enough. Okay. We'll turn this annoying thing off. Let's see. I think I would like to keep my population. Let's see, if I do this, it's going to be 4 turns. I like to keep in my in this for now. Let's see what we can do here. So the last thing we need to do before we end the turn is to pick our research. The research screen here is not really a research tree, but it's like a research wheel. And it's divided into 4 sectors, which are military growth, expansion, and basically economics. And so you need to research a certain number of technology in each of the era to be able to start the next one. So I think it's 9 per era. So I need to research 9 things here to be able to research stuff in here. And then there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total. That's nice. I like to start with production. So this thing allows me to build a mill foundry, which basically gives me flat more production, which is very useful in the beginning. Second thing usually I like to build is either a language square, which allows you to communicate with minor factions, or the seed storage. But to decide on that, let's actually take a look at something real quick. So this number here shows you 23 through 43. That is an estimate of how many more turns it's going to take before the next winter comes. So the way this game works is that it switches between the 2 seasons of summer and winter. Summer, everything is nice. You get all the resources normally. And winter, everything goes to hell. And you lose a lot of the resources on every single tile. Things become more difficult. You can't move. You can't see anything. And so a lot of the game, especially early on, is kind of planning around what to do in the winter. So we have a lot of turns before the winter comes. And because of that, I'm going to pick the seed storage as the second technology to take. Seed storage allows you to build a improvement which gives you a lot of food, but it only works during the summer. So if that wheel told me that winter is coming soon, then building this doesn't accomplish anything, because as soon as I build it, winter is going to come and I see no effects for the entire season. So we have some time before, so we're going to actually have this happen. In the meantime, I will start to explore the surrounding area with my nice little ship. And I think that's all we can do now. So we'll end the turn. Second turn, our faction quest begins. So faction quests are basically a quest line. You need to do certain things. And I think you finish all of it, you actually win the game. It's called a quest victory. You don't have to. There are many, many other ways to win, though. Excuse me about that. Apparently, like I'm allergic to quests. Doing a lot of quests in the Legend of Heroes games. One more is just gonna make me sneeze. So in this quest, what we have to do is exploit at least one sea tile, which we have already. We built our city next to sea, so we have one tile within our borders, and then research the war technology, which is there. This one right here basically gives us a sea unit, which is actually very, very good. For this first era, most of the sea units are boarding vessels, which are actually quite terrible. So this guy will basically wipe the floor with him. That's the advantage of the Magwar. The problem is that normally what's here, where this unit is a land unit, which is actually much better than our initial starting unit. But we don't have any. We don't have any other land unit that we can get. We have very good sea unit, but we're stuck on land with this very basic unit called the Mastermind, and he is not going to be killing many things for us. So that's kind of our challenge, you know? Okay. What we'll do here. I'm gonna... Okay. The other thing with the Magwar is that they can move very far on the water tiles, but not very far on the land at all. So I want to make my way over here, and what I'm gonna do is actually this. The other thing about this group is they start with the ability to move their unit on the water. For any other factions, you have to actually research that first. And we've encountered our first minor faction, the Irises. They make Vile Snake. Very friendly looking fella. The two heads are probably talking with each other all the time, discussing things. So the minor factions are kind of the mechanics in this game which allows you to obtain other units and possible bonuses. Sorry about that. I got a phone call that I had to take. Apparently this is a bad time to be recording this episode. Anyway, if you don't do anything for the minor units, they have these little camps which are like barbarian camps, and they will continuously produce hostile units who will harass you to no end. But if you choose to, you can pacify them through many ways, including killing them. And if you pacify them, you are able to assimilate them and gain some bonus. And with the additional ability to make this unit whatever it is. So we're actually going to be looking into that because it's actually quite important for us. We're not able to produce very strong land units, so we actually have to rely on minor factions to get kind of our military on the land to work. See how well we can do that. This is actually not a bad one to go, but the issue is that there's only one village in any given territory. So this game is based on territories. You can only have one city, so whoever builds a city in a territory claims it. And there's only one minor faction in every territory, and sometimes they have multiple villages. In this one, there's only one. If you have multiple villages and you pacify them, you are able to get much better bonuses than if there's only one village. I think the starting territory always gives you one village, so that's not always a great place to be looking into, but we'll figure it out. I'm waiting for the second population here, but in the meantime, what I need to do is to find... Hey, Formius. What we need to do is we need to find a possible location for our second settlement, second city. And I'm already running into somebody here. Might as well find out who they are. Is there anything useful here? Okay. Let's go say hi to our neighbor. Nydia. This is actually not a bad unit. We may want to have. Let's see if we can. 5 glass steel. Not too bad. Is this territory any good? This is a strange looking continent. Very long and narrow. Okay, let's go over here. I see a pillar. So these guys are the ardent mages. They built pillars. What is this? Okay, this is actually not a bad spot. I might want to go ahead and take my second settlement here. Very far away though. I don't have language square quite yet, so I can't communicate with these people. We'll do seed storage and then language square and war. You know what? We can wait for the war. Do the mint and then the war. That's gonna be our combination here. Or I changed my mind again. We're gonna do the war before the mint. You see what I mean in a minute. Okay. I would really like to take this territory because if we don't take it, I think we may be stuck in here. Of course, there's probably stuff down here as well, which I haven't explored yet, but which I will momentarily. Give me a minute, huh? Let a man do his job. Right. The second thing I want is to have a lot of production right now. I need to be able to finish these things quickly, and when the mill foundry gets done, let's see here. 3 turns, 6 turns. Let's go with this. We're gonna wait just a little bit longer. I want to wait for the mill foundry to finish, and then I can queue that up after the memorial, so the extra production that I produce doesn't actually get lost. Right. Finish that turn. Are they gonna say hi to me? Greet your neighbors! Hey there! I bring cookies. Would you like to try me pies? They don't seem to be very interested in us. Well, forget you then. I want to move to the other side of the continent here. Oh my goodness, this is a crazy place. Dirty dust. So I have a real nice setup in this region. There is this thing, which is a lot of food. This thing, which is a lot of food. This thing, which is pretty good science. And then this, which is also good science. So I can have multiple spots I can pick here. But I probably want to be stuck in the coast, because that's where I do my dirty business. And there's also glass steel? Yeah, glass steel here. Can also be useful. But we're also, we're probably going to do most of our business on the ocean. So it's not particularly crucial for us right now. If I get 2 turns. 2 turns. Okay. We'll finish that. And let's see. I think we're going to end this episode here. I think we're doing a decent start. If we can figure out what's over here, then we may be able to build a couple of empires in this direction. And then explore the sea, because I already have some interesting thing going on here. Thanks for watching. See you next time.